Hello, and welcome to the project breakdown of Orange Festival from the album Fizz Volume 1. This song is by, first and foremost, Israel Strom, and me, Phonon, and also Noah Denton. And, well, there's no better place to start than the beginning. And by the beginning, I mean the beginning of me producing it, which was actually probably a year or more after the song had actually started, because IJ wrote the majority of this whole song. Everything besides this when this starts happening. Everything besides that is IJ. And so at this point, I had gone and produced a bunch of the other songs, and it's like, okay, it's time for Orange Festival, and we had this master file of the IJ stuff. We'll start at the beginning, and the beginning, before anything ever happened to it, sounded like this. Which, obviously, is freaking awesome, but also it's not that different. But I'll show you what I did to sort of, do some more. What it sounds like now is... And yeah, so we'll start first with the drums, the percussion. So I think that's one of the most important things. So what goes on throughout this a lot of the song, is this break, the IJ break. Which obviously this song is an 11 or whatnot, but a very important thing about this song being an 11 is that there's a difference between a song being like, hey, I'm an 11, listen to my 11 beats, and a song that just happens to be an 11, if that makes sense. So an important thing that makes it feel like that to me is that the kicks in this break don't have low end, and so it puts them on the same level as the snares and the ghost notes and the other percussion. So it all just feels like one sort of thing, as opposed to boom ba, and so it feels more organic. Like this just feels natural, and it feels good. And so everything I wanted to do to add on top of this break was to at a bare minimum fall in line with that and not hinder or bring any attention to awkward or weird. I didn't want to make it feel hokey. I didn't want to add something that made it feel like, hey guys, listen to my brand new song. It's an 11/8. So yeah. So the first thing I did to this was actually, I believe what I did was, the main thing I did was this parallel layer. Which is looking at it again, it's a stab to make it tight. I'll turn all this stuff off, and then the important thing is this weird plugin called a harmonic adder. I'm pretty sure it's free, and it's just a weird old plugin that adds harmonics, which I almost never use it, but I was thinking about it on this specific day, I guess. It's like, what if I use this to add weird harmonics to this stuff, weird like resonances? It's like, oh, that sounds good. And essentially I just took that, and then I believe I put convolution reverb on it, the M turbo verb. Yeah. And then just EQing it and mixing it in. And so now you have this fun little layer to go on top. And then there's just normal EQ and stuff, which I'm not going to open every EQ because it'll take 5 years. But then the other thing I did, which I think it was worth it because it was fun and it adds something, is this. Which is addictive drums. But what I've done is, one, I have the MIDI here, and I essentially just put the notes in with the velocities that I felt like the original had. on a drum kit, and then I routed out from Addictive Drums every single drum hit. You can see these little arrows down here, these orange things. You can click them and put them onto a separate out, and then you can make audio tracks that input that audio, and then you can process them all individually. So we have the kick one here, which kind of sounds a little stupid. What does it sound with nothing? Yeah. I bet the thing on the group is cutting out all the lows, but this is just parallel convolution reverb and some compression. So nothing crazy. And then the snare is fun. It's also just some distortion, compression, and then parallel convolution reverb with altiverb. My favorite convolution reverb and my favorite setting is the Boeing 747 rows 22 to 28. It's a good sound. And so yeah, and then there's just normal stuff, and there's the ghost notes. Oh wait, am I crazy? Okay, it's not ghost notes and not ghost notes. It's just snare 1 and snare 2, because there's 2 different sounding snares in the original break in my head. So I believe I took a different channel and put, I have 2 different snares, which is fun. And this one is the same sort of thing. It's just a Volv compressor, a saturation, and then parallel convolution reverb. The same thing, just a different snare instead of Addictive Drums. And then here are the ghost notes, which very simple processing. RC20 with this just tube air distortion. It does a very nice thing. Essentially, it was just an EQ, it's a saturator that makes the EQ curve just go whoom, and then rolls off some high end. It's like whoom. That's what it does, and it sounds very good on a lot of things. When you want something that's more warm, that's generally a safe bet. And then you have a hi-hat, and there's nothing on there. And then you have the room mic, which is everything. Which I believe I'm just compressing the Jeep is out. Yeah, and then this plugin, which does a very similar thing to RC20, and in fact a little bit better, because it stands for Maybe I Shouldn't Have Built You. It's a plugin by Freak Show Industries. I recommend it, but it does a good analog sort of saturation. And by analog I just mean old timey warm goodness, not like it's analog. But it cuts off a lot more high end inherently. This quality knob, even when you have it up all the way, has it cuts off stuff above like 15K or something, I don't remember. But I like it. And then all of that goes through the group. And without processing, it sounds like that. And then with the same plugin I just showed you again, an EQ, which is cutting out the kick, a stab to make it tighter, another EQ, which is just doing that, and then another convolution parallel chain. Always good. And then tape emulation compressor, and then another EQ. Yeah. And then that with the original. I quite like that. And then we have this another layer that was just from IJ and IJ Stem. I love how this break sounds. I love how that break sounds. And I believe, if I remember correctly, there were some frequencies that were driving me insane while making it. But I didn't hear them at first, but at some point during making them, I was listening to the whole loop and hearing these weird resonances in my left ear or something. And was it you? Yes. Yeah, at this point, looking back on it, looks like a little bit of a crazy person's EQ, but I do remember not even thinking about this break, listening to the loop and being like, I hear a note in my left ear that's not there, or like something, and I searched the project top and down until I figured out it was this layer, and then I got rid of it. And some people would say, well, hey, isn't that overkill? Did you really have, does it change it that much? And you could be like, oh, it doesn't do that much, but it's the principle of, there's something about the whole that is bugging you that you think is wrong. They're like, oh, this shouldn't be like that. And then you go and you fix it. And even if no one ever thinks of it ever again, ever in the history of anything, you've appeased it to yourself and made it that tiny bit better, and you're one step closer to it being what you want. And so I will always encourage stuff like that, even if it seems a little bit insane. And then I believe this layer, what is it? Yeah, it's noise. It's just a vital noise layer going through some whatever effects, a wave folder, convolution. Yeah. Yeah, the wave folder does cool stuff. I don't use it that much anymore. And then another one, a plugin from the same people who made the Harmonic, whatever, is Corkscrew. It does a really good job of smoothing stuff out, but it's also what it's meant to do, and what it does is essentially takes anything and it kind of shepherds tones it, kind of, in a way. And so if you put it on something, it'll sound like there's stuff that's kind of always going up, like, and it's usually kind of just flangey, notchy stuff, kind of. But you can also turn it up, the rate up really fast, and put it on noisy stuff and make it kind of blurry, which is fun. And then it's my favorite group probably of stuff. This very simple but effective layer is just me going. You put in the sampler, and you have the drum MIDI. That's like it, but it's awesome. And then you have the blibby blubbles, which are they're just heaps of fun. And actually, what is I don't remember what the sample is in the sampler. If I turn off the pitch envelope, what is it? Well, I don't remember what that was from. I don't think it matters that much. It just needs a tone. And then there's a pitch envelope that's going whip 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 whip. And then I'm automating the attack to, if you look down here, I'm making it go from going up, like boop 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 boop, and then sometimes I'll put it at 0 so it goes. Very simple, but very fun. And then you just an auto pan to make it go between the ears every chord note, but not fully, and then delay and stuff. Now this one it's not my favorite process, but it's one of my favorite layers. Because it's just these are all scratch samples from an old sample pack that was used a lot in the making of Nintendo soundtracks. Just a sample pack that they used a lot, and I went through it all the scratches, and I cut them all out and put them in this drum rack, so that I can just have them and use them. And I did that all just for this song, so I used them for this. I made the rack because I was doing it for this. But they're so fun. And once again, the post is very simple. It's just EQ and a little compression and a little more EQ. Yeah, that's like basic. I love it so much. And then this is just like a weird penguin slapping their feet running across the floor. What is it, just like pinch envelope weird stuff? Oh, I forget that I do this stuff. Yeah, this layer is made of the word fizz put and made into a wavetable. I don't know if you can see, but it's impact font. Oh, if I make you bigger. 400%. This might crash everything. Please don't crash everything. Oh my oh my god. That might be a little bit too big. But you can see that I made the word fizz into a wavetable. Not even for any cool sound, just for this stupid layer. But it's in there. And I tell you what, I don't regret it. Yeah, but sometimes you just gotta make stuff for the heck of it. Yeah, just pitch envelope, detuned, whatever, bandpass filter. Yeah. This is the LFO that's on the filter. Right. Oh, it's on the panning. And who's on the cutoff? Is it random? Oh, the velocity is. I don't even know my own sense. Yeah, we have velocity on the cutoff so that I can, you know, map it to the important. I believe it's just the MIDI from this collapsed. Oh, and I forgot to mention that the MIDI on this is just the piano MIDI, which is fun. Then this, I use the corkscrew thing again, but it's on a sample of a friend making a smoke detector sound with their mouth. Where'd it go? Yeah. But I turned it into this. If I turn off the corkscrew, it'll stop going, and it'll just be. It's a very useful tool. And then this is just, I believe, yeah, just like what were you? Are you a shaker or something? It could be a shaker. It could also be my voice that was soothed, like turned all the way up, so it's essentially just noise. It could be either one of those, but it's just, yeah, it's very simple, like a shaker sort of thing. And here's the original shaker, and then here is a shaker I recorded and then painstakingly made to match the same rhythm as the original, so that I could hard pan them and put them on top of the original shaker. And then we would have a wide shaker. Yeah, and then this is very simple. It's just me going. Oh wait, it's me going shh. And then I think I go ka. Yeah, I go shh, and then I go ka. And it's like whoa. And that's about it. And then we have all the important, you know, notes and stuff. It's a very easy group to get lost in terms of it's so fun to listen to, because IJ wrote such a great song. And yeah, we have the piano chords that are IJ's, just the stem. Just, you know, EQ stuff to make them brighter and sit in an uprighter mix like this. And then you have the piano that I added. And you might notice that the high end on that sounds a bit kind of weird and spectrally. It's because it sounds like this before. There's a bunch of noise on this keyscape piano. And I believe if I turn off these effects, it gets about 30,000 times darker. Yeah. So it's the felt piano, but I just cranked it. I'm sure this EQ and the other EQ will be just, yeah, the same thing. Just super duper duper. Dip the mids, boost the highs, like just essentially just like a tilt EQ, but you know, more steps. But I didn't want the added noise. Or actually, we had the added noise for a while, and then, you know, down the road of refining everything, we got rid of the noise because it was in the way. And I believe I just resampled it and then put it in RX and just denoised it or something. Yeah. Because you can just go in here and be like, okay, spectral denoise. And then it'll do. I'm gonna have a stroke. Oh, and it'll do pretty good. But yeah, that's that piano layer, and then this one is a very like short, little. And I don't remember what this sound is either from in the sampler, but let's see. That's not helpful. Actually, it might have been a one shot from. What are you? Oh, yeah, there was a. Oh, I was doing something. I was like, show in browser. Yeah, it was some process of taking a one shot from something and then processing it to make it, because I wanted to make a instrument thing. And these ones are probably all the same but different. Yeah, this layer wasn't used. I feel like it might have been from Piano Tech. It might have been me messing with Piano Tech, and then, but there was some lost process here because I deleted the extra channels for CPU. But it was, I can assure you, it was me having some idea of, okay, I'm gonna make a one shot out of this thing from something, so I can take it and make an interesting layer with this in a sampler, kind of whatever, and it just ended up being this sort of little plucky thing. And then all those pianos together sounds like. Very, very, very nice. And then we have the lovely pads. This is the IJ ones. It's the most important. Most important. And then I made these two layers. And by made, I mean modified Omnisphere patches. And this one's from Triton, the Korg Triton. I believe that I dipped the mids on these ones in the fundamentals, and then I dipped the sides and the fundamentals on the piano. So the piano EQ should have, yeah, a dip on the sides here to make room, and then the pads here will have a dip in the mids. Yep. So that way, that's just like I'm placing things slightly better, carving out space, because so many of these sounds and instruments are all live in the same frequency space, at least the root the fundamental notes. And so I was like, okay, these guys can live in the middle more, and these ones can live in the sides, and they will get out of each other's way a bit more. And so those ones together sound like. And the pads do sound like they're more in the sides and whatnot. And then now we get to my favorite part. My favorite part, which is the basses. And that's not just because I like basses a lot. That's because the bass in this song throughout it is made from something that I find quite enthralling. And I'll show you when I get there. But this is the bass sound by itself. And if you notice, if I show you what the sides sound like, just the stereo. The entire, the whole bass is there, like the sub, all of the. But okay, we're like, okay, well, you can make stereo sub, but surely it gets messed up in mono. Well, it doesn't get messed up in mono. How did that work? Well, I'll show you. Okay, the original Omnisphere patch that made the bass sound isn't in this project, and I'll go and find it later, but I'll just show it on the screen now if I find it. But essentially what it was two oscillators with two very, very different waveforms. One was very sinusoidal, and the other was very like square. And by squarey, I mean there's like a bunch of squares. It's very, very much not simple. So a complex waveform. And essentially, there's two of those, and each of them, I think they either both have two voices or they both have four. And then they're detuned a bit. But yeah, so two very different waveforms, and they're both detuned and spread. And what that usually leaves you with is something like this, which is very the phases are fast. And so you're hearing a lot of pulsing and stuff. But on this resampling, I think the detune amounts were less, and so the length of time that these two the wavelength of them pulsing was like much longer. And so at the end of this waveform, after this yonk, it's very consistent. It sounds essentially constant, but it's still phasing. It's just it's in a moment where all of the voices of both waveforms are in some sweet spot where they're not, canceling, but they're still very stereo. It's like this little Goldilocks zone. Now, I don't know if the two waveforms being very, very different helps mask anything, but I feel like it does. Because this kind of principle, when you're just taking one waveform and detuning it, it just doesn't work the way that this does. So yeah, it's having two very different waveforms, both detuned, to sort of mask and cover up some stuff, and having a long enough wavelength of the phase pulses or whatever, and so you're left with a consistent tone, but it's just fully stereo and works in mono too, which is awesome. And so the bass in this first part, the foundation, is just that sample and a sampler with a filter, and then a little fab filter Saturn and an EQ, and nothing more. And then you have the layers of I believe there's upright bass, IJs. And then this one, what is this one? Upright bass and piano. And then a very Fizz just wavetable. Is there an ant on my desk? I know. I'm having hallucinations of ants because of how many ants there's been on my desk. But yeah, it's just it's probably calculus or duocorn. Place your bets now. Is it calculus or duocorn? It was calculus, okay. But yeah, just putting an envelope on essentially the shape thing, which is just the wavetable position. And then, filter envelope. Sounds very sound fonty. But yeah, all that together gives you... Yeah, so that's all of the sense in that part. Not sense, but just sounds. I mean, note sounds. And then we have the ambiance, which is quite entertaining. I think this part is just yeah. This is me rustling about with paper and cups and glasses and whatnot and panning them, and then there's just a delay on them. Let's turn the delay off for a second and listen. These are pins in a cup, I remember. I actually don't remember what that is. That sounds... That's paper. That's glass something. Why is it so smooth? I'm having my brain is having a real problem trying to remember what this is. So it would be a glass with a lot of things in the glass instead of a mug, because I have a mug. Maybe I put pencils in a glass. But yeah, just rustling sounds, some texture, and then some street corner stuff sound. And then the real good stuff, the voices. Which consists of me just hitting record, and then some a character will overtake, and the words will come out, and then I'll just
We grow, we plant them. Unclear pear is really the cream of the crop, because, as the name suggests, when you put it in your mouth, it's so good that it's really unclear how any pear could be better than this one.
This is incredible.
Any other mother tried. I mean, I tried John Deere, I tried Kubota, I tried lemon juice, and I tell you, the fornicating 5,600 horsepower, it gets in there way better than any of the other. Sort of in a positive way, if you can sort of think of that phrase as being positive. It's sort of these fragrant peaches get me out of bed in the morning.
I agree. And what are these ones?
Because I would like to bargain. I'm sort of a bargaining sort of girl. But this bundle, this fruit bundle you have, you have it priced at $9.99 per bag. But could you get it down to $8.99 maybe $7.99? Maybe $6.99, maybe $5.99.
Look at all of these different beautiful fruits and vegetables. Thank you, honey. It really means the world. So, let's see. Which one would you recommend for a nice healthy salad?
Okay, it's just I had a lot of fun with those. But all of these voices and the other sounds and all come together to make what I call the Orange Festival. Oh, and then we have the lead. Forgot about the lead because it hadn't happened yet. And you have and then this is just the IJ piano. And that's the core, and then this one I believe is more piano. Yeah. Just a very tight. I probably put a filter envelope on like keyscape piano. Which one is it? Is it upright? Yes, it's the upright. And then the Celesta from IJ. Yeah, and so that's like, oh, that's pretty shrimple. And then you get down to this part, and it looks a little crazy. And it's all these layers that came to just make this one sound. Which I love this sound. But the journey to get here was a lot. And so it starts with this, which is just, I think I might have made IJ send me piano, like a piano note one shot from one of his things, or I might have just made the piano. It's just a piano one shot with an envelope. And then, you have the... And then I just recorded it playing the melody and put that into Melodyne. And then use that to make it all just the odd harmonics, and then make it a little bit more plucky. Because you can, I believe if I do this, it'll make it even shorter. Yeah, you can make it super short. But I made it a little shorter. I made it a little shorter, and then made it all just the odd harmonics. Or even, oh, I would feel so dumb if I'd been. Come with me on a journey. No, a square wave is even harmonics. Oh my gosh. What did I say first? Did I say odd first? What have I been saying? And then made it all just the odd harmonics. But yeah, from there, then I just took it and I put it and I put LFO tool on it with a comb minus filter, comb plus filter. I was going, they both they sound different. And then I have MIDI going to the LFO tool to tell it what note to put the comb filter on. And it adds this specific quality, not just the comb, but like it moving from note to note. It adds this squishy thing in between notes on transients and stuff that I like. But yeah, and I think besides that, it's mostly just normal processing, multi-band compression and the EQ and the Mishy B thing for warmth, and then more EQ and the limiter and whatnot. And it's just that plus a piano one shot from I think it's just a sound font from old Roland something. And then those together. And that with the others. And then you have the...
Hello everyone, IJ here from Fizz Inc, and this is my part of the Orange Festival Patreon breakdown. Okay, let's get into it. So I'm gonna get to the intro in a second here, but first of all, this section. So Noah actually wrote this section before I wrote the intro. If you can believe that. I mean, mind blown, right? So it keeps going back and forth between C# Mixolydian and A-Lydian. So I knew that I wanted to use those two scales as the harmonic anchors, if you will, for the intro. So I started playing with that idea over this groove from later in the song. So that's great, but I wanted to make this A-Lydian thing more bright and emotional, and that's a pretty difficult thing because the Lydian scale is already the brightest modal scale. Like, you got brighter, it gets brighter and brighter, and then it stops at the root, right? It's brighter than the major scale, because like instead of that 4 it has the sharp 4. So how do you get brighter than Lydian? Well, for that you have to use the super Lydian scale, where instead of it getting brighter, brighter, and brighter, and then stopping back at the root, it just keeps going. So that's super Lydian. So perfect, I'll add this new magical note, the A sharp, the sharp 15, to the A Lydian thing I had going on. It sucks, it sounds terrible. That's kind of the frustrating thing with Super Lydian, is that most of the possible chord voicings just suck. They don't sound good. They usually have to be very spread out voicings where that magical sharp 15 note is like on the top or near the top. And it's like, I don't want to use a spread out voicing on this part, because it's like, given this context, this just sounds inappropriate. Like, it doesn't fit at all. So there has to be some way of using this note on this A Lydian part that doesn't make this chord sound bad, because it's like, no. The solution that I ended up settling on was basically to do Super Lydian without doing Super Lydian. So instead of sticking the A sharp right into this A chord and ruining it, making it sound terrible, I would make the progression alternate between this A major 7 chord and this G sharp minor 7 chord. So it's like, and then I would stick the A sharp on that G sharp minor 7 chord, make it a G sharp minor 9. So it's like, this chord is free of that ugly note, just keep it without it, and then put it in this chord. So it's basically what I had before, except the bass line dips into G sharp for a second, so that this A sharp, the sharp 15, doesn't clash with this A chord, and instead just rests peacefully on top of the G sharp minor 7 chord. So even though Super Lydian was never technically used in this spot, it was still very much part of the logic behind the chords here. So yeah, those are the chords, and for the bass line, I really liked using this shape over the A Lydian thing. But I shortly realized that it would also work over the C sharp Mixolydian thing as well, so I just put it over all of it. So I'm gonna talk about the melody in just a second, but first I'm gonna jump over here to this part. So here's the funny thing, is that this part was also written before the intro and the verse. Like people think that I wrote the intro and the verse and then later reharmonized it in this section. But no, I wrote this section and then deharmonized the melody in the verse later. And I feel like deharmonizing something complicated is more difficult than reharmonizing something simple, because it's like, you know that scene in SpongeBob where Squidward is trying to teach SpongeBob how to draw, and like draw a circle, and then SpongeBob draws a face and then erases a circle from the face. That's what deharmonization is. So I put that melodic idea from the breakdown in here, the right, and to expand on that melody, I kept trying to just imagine, like, what would Pat Metheny do? So I kept just trying to imagine I was Pat Metheny, came up with Wait, I'm gonna show you guys this melody that got cancelled because I just didn't like how it was gonna turn out by the time I was done workshopping it, because Cam was already making the mix really full and it just didn't need this melody on top of everything else. But like, here it is. Yeah, that's it. On this part, I just wanted there to be like a Mixolydian splash in there. Yeah, that thing. There was kind of a problem with the chord in the splash. It sounds very major, and it's like, I didn't want that because when Mixolydian gets a little bit too major, things can get out of hand very fast and get very cheesy. Like, and I don't want that. I don't want to die someday knowing that I did that. So I tried to solve it by changing the bass line, making the bass line brighter so that the chords got darker. Genius move, right? So that fixed it for me. Thank you all for watching this Patreon Orange Festival breakdown. And again, if you're watching this on YouTube, don't just click that like button. Smash that like button. Goodbye.
And so like, well, how do I get that? How do I get that extra wide, squishy sound that's in all these Fizz songs? Like that.
But like, we just came from a Lydian chord, so you're like, okay, it's a bright super Lydian chord, but
there's a couple things going on, and by that I mean there's a lot of things going on, and by that I mean there's some things going on, and by things I mean things, and by going I mean on.
Don't try this at home. Actually, try this at home.
As stuff happens like this, you can see the automation here. So this is the group of all the... I go, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in the space of 4 eighth notes. And then you put 4 in the space of these 3, which I can show you how to do right now. You go whap, and you go whap, and you go whap, and you go whap.
I think I might just have something against 7.
Well, let's listen to just the risers for a second.